What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off the charts are showing and based off the data is suggesting. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the market, how the things that affect it can end up affecting NIO, what you should be watching for tomorrow as I give you guys my price prediction. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. And not only benefits me, but benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money to the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth $2,000. And the best part is any could be a free NIO share, a free Tesla share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 2 weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Looking at NIO, this thing was down about 8.51% for the day. Now, I did predict yesterday that the market would see lots of chop and maybe some potential downside. The market did see more downside overall. However, NIO actually went a little bit lower than I expected, and now this stock is showing a little bit of weakness. So let's actually go back a couple of days. As you guys can see, NIO tends to be correlated with the QQQ. NIO tends to move with the market, and NIO was showing more strength than before. But it does look like the price pairs ratio is going to start coming down again because NIO is showing some weakness once again. And this is right after the China Renaissance actually downgraded NIO from a buy to a hold. This obviously does have an opportunity cost. Now, coming all the way down, looking at the monthly seasonality, we can actually see that NIO is actually green about 56% of the time. On these Novembers, and so far November was a decent month to start us off. Now it is starting to slow down a bit. NIO is green about 51% of the time on Thursdays. I'm still not expecting the same thing though, and the short interest has been downtrending a bit. Some shorts did start to cover, but I do expect this to start coming up a bit if NIO does continue to drop. So anyways, when it comes to the overall market, what's going to affect us? Tomorrow we have what's known as jobless claims. This is important because the market is going to be responding to the labor market statistics. What are jobless claims? That's basically the amount of people that end up filing for unemployment insurance, and that in turn is going to lead to how the market reacts. So if more people are losing their jobs, this means there's more pain in the jobs market. The market will respond most likely positively to this, right? If this is higher than expected, more people lost their jobs than expected, the market's going to respond positively because it's going to incentivize the Fed to not be as hawkish, right? Now, if this number is lower than expected, this would show some strength in the jobs market. Why is this important? It's important because if the jobs market is stronger than anticipated, the Fed is going to be incentivized to cause more pain, once again, causing the market to actually come down. So just watch jobless claims. If it's higher than expected, all right, that's good. The market's going to rally. If this is lower than expected, the market is actually going to come down. That's all you need to remember to be as frank as possible. Also tomorrow, during the later hours, we have lots of Fed speakers. We have Bullard speaking. We have other Fed officials. And this is likely going to cause the market to trade sideways and maybe start to downtrend as time goes on. Now, if you are a bull in this market, if you think the market is going to continue to rally, please note that there have been a lot more puts to be bought by many institutions. And when so many people buy way too many puts, this tends to incentivize the market makers to cause the market to actually do the opposite and actually push up. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that that's going to happen, but on SPY, you can argue two things. Now, we are downtrending. You could argue that this looks like a falling wedge and we're going to get a big reversal. Or you could also argue that we're showing weakness, and if we don't hold this demand zone, this may just not even play out, and we could just continue to downtrend from here. I believe what's going to happen, though, is we're going to get a nice push up tomorrow into open, and maybe a small one, then start to bleed as the day goes on because of the Fed speakers. I say this because when you look at Tesla, for example, we have this big gap up here. All right. We also happen to have it on AMC. There's a big gap to the upside. NIO does not have it. I mean, it does, but it's just not as close to us. I think it's going to be harder for NIO to get there. But what I'm anticipating for NIO for tomorrow is a small pump to the upside into open. I believe NIO is going to retest $11. Maybe a little bit higher, maybe hit 11.2. But then we're going to slow down as the day goes on. More Fed speakers come out. they start becoming very hawkish, and NIO might slow down and start coming down slowly and slowly and slowly. And then going back on the chart, NIO has this gap over here at $10.37, $10.39 around there. I believe NIO is going to come down and fill the gap down here. And I believe it might happen either like during open, we just drop a bit and do it, or this thing pushes to the upside first, then we end up coming all the way down, and then we start filling the gaps and we see more downside. But overall, guys, I do believe it's very likely we're going to get a pop because of the jobs reports. And then we start to bleed as the day goes on and the market starts to push down a bit. And this will affect how NIO moves. Now, from a technical standpoint, on the daily, if you look at how NIO's setup looks, NIO was pushing to the upside, but now NIO is starting to get a little bit tighter. And it looks to me like if you want to argue that this is looking like a wedge, I mean, you could technically argue that if you draw a line from here to like here, for instance, just like that. And you could also draw it like this. Would I call this a rising wedge? I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say so, but you could argue that we're forming this kind of like pattern. But if that's not the case, we could draw this out over a much larger time frame, a little bit like this, very close to something like this, which means NIO could like come down, get a small bounce, trade a little bit like this, then pick a direction. Once we get to December, whether we push up or if we come down, you could argue that. But overall, guys, the thesis, in my opinion, is NIO does not look very strong when you look at this daily candle, which is why I believe NIO will likely either get a small pop and then bleed, or it just starts to bleed again, similar to how it did today, to start filling those gaps to the downside. That's essentially what I have for this video. I know it's very unfortunate, but when it comes to support levels, watch 10.4 on NIO. Break below that, and this thing is going to likely come all the way down to $10. If NIO pushes up, 10.69 to 10.7 is going to be resistance, not to mention 10.76, but I think stronger resistance is at 10.7 now. If we break above that, then we have resistance at 11, followed by 11.18. So watch those zones very carefully. If NIO continues to pump and we actually break past 11.18, this thing has the potential to fill the gap all the way up here. I just don't see that happening tomorrow, given this day and the weakness NIO is showing. So that's essentially what I have for this video. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Please have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. And please remember, okay, it's not the end of the world if you see NIO dropping a bit. It's another buying opportunity. We know when the market recovers, NIO will recover too, especially because NIO still has very strong deliveries. Don't forget that for November and December, their deliveries are expected to be very, very strong. So in the next 2 weeks, when their November report comes out, I expect a very, very nice report. And I do believe that could help the share price start pushing to the upside. So anyways, guys, thank you all so much for listening. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.